again. This is our third session, and we're here in the lovely Pebbles Beach Park on a sunny afternoon. Looking forward to hearing your last series. I know you've worked many poems over the years, and you've selected these just for us. Thank you. Over to you.
To be a cat. What is it to be a cat, waiting for dry kibbles from a box? But cats live in other realms too than this. Many could still easily go wild. And cats are of the day, yet equally of night. That world invisible, unknown, that I but sleep through. Repellent. Walking. Citronella on my skin stops only some mosquitoes. Hours later, the cat sniffs and backs away. I have written some children's poems, and I've said an occasional poem, children's or otherwise, to a melody. And with this one, I invite you to join in the chorus. Crocodiles. When I talk to the earth, and the earth talks back, I learn many wonderful things, but lots of questions I haven't asked yet, like why crocodiles have no wings, why crocodiles have no wings, no wings, why crocodiles have no wings. I've learned how the trees and the wind advise when rain will be coming soon, and that when it's done, a chickadee calls, and the frogs resume their tune. And the frogs resume their tune, their tune. The frogs resume their tune. She teaches me how the great rocks sing as they cradle the seas in their bed. But she's never said why no croc wears fur, and none ever stands on his head. And none ever stands on his head, and none ever stands on his head. Sometimes the round earth loves to tease, and laughs at herself, or me. But she hasn't yet told, 'cause I haven't asked, why crocodiles don't drink tea. Why crocodiles don't drink tea, drink tea. Why crocodiles don't drink tea. When we talk to each other, it seems to me the most natural thing to do. But I wouldn't tell everyone. Not at all. I'm sharing it just with you. I'm sharing it just with you, with you. I'm sharing it just with you. For my first 12 years on the Sunshine Coast, I had the good fortune to live on Gambier Island. And there I sometimes visited a fellow resident, British immigrant, wonderful artist. We got into very interesting conversations. Next poem is based on one of those, and I apologize in advance for shortages in my attempt at an English accent, but this poem seems to call for it. A cup of tea. I believe that life, he said, is a one-shot deal. It's like a cup of tea. A cup of tea with cream and sugar. It's a short life, the life of a cup of tea. And then the atoms and molecules that for a moment's time were tea and cup flow into water. Another human, or perhaps a worm. But it's enough, he said, to know that once they were, he lovingly caressed the words, a cup of tea with cream and sugar. the wren. Thud. A brown flutter. Thud. I open the door wide and tiptoe into the unfinished cottage. One door, a high, peaked roof. Scarce daring to hope, I approach the bay window slowly, just as the little wren leaves the glass and perches on a scrap of wood before me. Slowly I wrap cupped hands around the unresisting bird. Outside, the wren sits on my open palm, spread-legged, beak pointing skyward, blinking. "Does your head ache?" I murmur. "Or is it fright that immobilizes you?" I babble on quietly. Suddenly, eyes focus, beak points straight ahead, the tiny body throbs like a cat purring. In a moment, the wren looks around, hops onto my thumb and flies chattering to the nearby ivy-covered stump. And only a small white parting gift rests lightly on my outstretched hand. I read that once at the Arts Center when Richard Austin was there, one of our wonderful poets and actors, and he said, "I think Sheila's the only person I know who could write a poem about shit."
Aw.
And speaking of poetry, brings me to the next piece, which is titled Poetry. I'm sure every individual has a different perception of poetry, whether as a writer or a reader, and all of one's own background and experiences come into it. This was my sense of it when I was writing very actively. Poetry. Poetry is going so deep inside, I forget the toast. Or feeling again my body on that smooth, flat rock, warm in the sun. Poetry is laughing and crying and feeling and loving, even all at once. Suddenly knowing things I didn't know I knew, and showing my whole self naked to the world, and it's okay. Poetry is words and the universe playing and dancing in my heart. Poetry is flitting butterflies. And who can teach a butterfly how to fly? I wrote that in the form of Japanese haiku, a very old form in Japan, centuries old. There, written in one line. Here we're familiar with it in 3 lines, maybe maximum 17 syllables, often about nature, sometimes with a twist at the end. It's a style that has become very popular now all over the world. I'll read just 3 or 4, and because they're so short, I'll read them twice. Stacking firewood. Getting it right the first time. Stacking firewood. Getting it right the first time. Last year at the beginning of COVID, I walked the Mahon Trail near here, and when I came back to the top, I sat on a log by the small pond, just listening to the frogs. And I wrote after, "No social distancing for them." Frogs pond chorus. No social distancing for them. Frogs pond chorus. Drifting out to sea, strong swimmer rescues a child's flip-flops. Drifting out to sea, strong swimmer rescues a child's flip-flops. A small girl returns the snakes to their home after their wagon ride. A small girl returns the snakes to their home after their wagon ride. The last one. Rippling grasslands, even the wire fence singing. Rippling grasslands, even the wire fence singing. And I'll finish with 3 pieces by my mother, Edith Weaver, who wrote a great many poems in the 1930s through the 50s. To a mosquito. Mosquito there, you're out of date to fly so late. Aren't you aware November's here and all your tiny sisters dear at summer's even went to heaven? And here you wait like cunning fate for me. Ah, no, dear mosquito, I can't agree to quiet be while you on me regale for tea. Then stay no more, or I'll be sure to wreak my ire in vengeance dire with one fell swat, and then you're not. Habit. Man likes pernicious habit well. It's fun as well as fetter. He yields to its insidious spell to harm himself the better. And the last one is a poem that she wrote when I was very small, and many decades later I set it to a melody. Drift o'er her, sleep. Drift o'er her, sleep, with thy soft pinions spread. Show rainbowed dreams her inward eye may see. Sing lilting airs to make her laugh aloud with curve of cheek in beauty's symmetry. Still hover sleep through all the silver night that shines your hair with moonlight's eerie glow. Still watch this tender child to guide aright her waking life as daylight hours grow. Thank you.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Ending on your mother's song. It shows the legacy of poetry in your family, and you're keeping that alive and well. It's so beautiful, and we thank you for presenting and responding to us as well, because it seems as though we're all here together, appreciating your words, nature, and living on the Sunshine Coast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Laurel.